Cake 10.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Whether you've been married 1 or 20 plus years, at some point, you realize you were married into crazy.
And that's what our podcast is all about. We offer love, laughter, and a dose of reality as we unpack this crazy thing called marriage.
So sit back, relax, and get your ear hustle on. It's time to start the conversation.
All right, let's go.
Welcome to episode 98 of the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey.
I'm Snooks.
I'm Lovey. And we welcome each and every one of you back. You had a lot of choices to take with you on your commute. You had a lot of choices to listen to on the radio. And yet you chose us. And we are so thankful. We were very thankful. Question is, did you tell somebody to join us with you? No, we're very thankful for you. But we love the opportunity to start a party when it comes to the podcast and sharing information.
Yes.
So, of course, one thing that we're going to be probably doing for the next several weeks, at least 8 weeks or so, is starting off talking about these wonderful shirts we're wearing. Ooh, look at that.
Can you see mine?
Part of that Ashlyn Cole fan club.
Hashtag $1 Million Voice.
So any of you that watch Sunday's Best on BET, you see just a plethora of talent out there. There's so many individuals that across the nation that are just singing their butts off, for the Lord.
Yes, we have church twice a day on Sunday. We have church service at 11 a.m. and then at 5 o'clock, we have church again.
Now we do, because we watch Sunday's Best.
Yes.
And with a watch party with a lot of our peers through Breathe University. But we're all there to support one young lady named Ashlyn Cole. Well, we're there to praise God. Now, let me get it straight. We're there to praise. But, look, I can't say any better than, somebody on there said, I love how you Jesus.
Oh, Kelly Price.
It was Kelly Price. I love how you Jesus. And I mean,
I get me chills right now.
if you haven't had the opportunity or made time to actually go and watch the show, please.
You gotta watch it.
Do yourself a favor. And it's not just about Ash. I mean, there's some great individuals on there, some phenomenal singers. And
if you like good gospel music, if you love good singing, they don't sing, they sang. If you love to hear that, you will not be disappointed on Sundays at 5 p.m. watching BET, Sunday's Best.
And so, if you want to do like us and wear your fan club gear, you can go to Ashlyn's website, which is ashlyncole.com. That's ASHLING.com. Go there, and there's a variety of really cool shirts and different gear that you can get. There's mugs, there's hats, there's all kinds of stuff. And it's there to support a great cause. And when you hear her story on the show, you'll know why. And
when you hear her sing, you'll just be like, what just happened?
Look, she's got a voice that just makes the angels stop and be
Jesus.
like, who's that? Where's her wings at?
I'm getting chills. I had to go and watch it on YouTube again. Yesterday I got on the treadmill and I went to YouTube and just to see if they had, and there she was, Ashlyn Cole, Sunday's Best, and they have these two guys. I don't know who they are. I can't call their names, but they're reaction videos. And first 2 notes, the dude stopped and he's like, I quit. I give up. Because she just shut it down. I mean, and she's just getting, I'm looking at the comments and everything, and she's just getting all kind of crazy love. And it's not just, we're not just saying that because, we know her and, anything like that. When you hear her sing, you will be saying, okay, the hype is real. It's not a joke. This is real business.
Yeah, she's doing God's work. She really is.
Just beautiful. And then her spirit also, just a lovely, just beautiful, pure spirit. So, yeah.
And I think I said it last week, but when I got the diagnosis for bladder cancer, I immediately called my wife, and then the next call was to Ashlyn. And, she prayed with me, and she gave me some words of advice, and she's that person. She's that individual. When you're going through something, that you pick up the phone, and that's who you call. Yeah. Not Ghostbusters, you call Ashlyn. But enough about that. They'll be like, is this whole podcast going to be about her?
No,
it could be.
Yet. when she wins Sunday Best, we're going to have her on. And we're going to interview her.
And if not before.
Yeah.
If not before.
I'm just saying. Okay, so moving along. Next thing we want to just kind of briefly put out there, we have our Married into Crazy Communications workshop coming up this Saturday at 10 a.m. It's about an hour and a half from 10 a.m. to 11:30 p.m.
Pacific Standard Time.
Pacific Standard Time. So if you haven't signed up yet, go ahead and go to the website and just click on that link to sign up for the workshop. Every time we have the workshop, we're going to do them once a month, once every Saturday. The last Saturday of every month. And we have a great time, you guys. We have a great time. We get good questions, awesome feedback. So we want you to come and join us. Don't just listen to us on the podcast. We want to see you on Saturday.
Right. So it's Zoom. So what you can do is go to marriedintocrazy.com. And right there on the front page, it says, "She tried to leave me for somebody else." No,
he loves to do that.
No, right there on the front page of our website, marriedintocrazy.com, there's a little thing that you can click on there, right there on the front page, where it talks about she asked for a divorce in our 4-year anniversary. That section, click on there, register. It's quick and painless, and you'll get the opportunity. You'll immediately get a link that will give you your disc assessment, so you can have that, which really is about a $97 value. And then on top of that, you'll be able to participate in the workshop. And we think it's definitely worth your while. And this one, we have registrants that are doing this from all over the world. We have people from the United Kingdom that have registered. There are people, of course, here in the United States as well, but across the entire U.S.
Yeah, so just come and join us on Saturday, 10 o'clock p.m. 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Go ahead and register, because registration is going to close.
It's going to close 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Friday.
Yeah.
So when you go on there, take a look. You'll see the clock ticking.
Yeah.
So it's a great time.
Yeah.
And we look forward to working with you and sharing with you what the Lord has put in our spirit, so to help you have that better communication between you and your loved one as well. And if you're not in a relationship yet, still we want to hear you. We want to see you, because you will be in that relationship, and it's about getting those nuggets.
Yeah, exactly. So next thing is we want us to make sure that you go on to Apple Podcasts and give us that 5-star rating and leave a review. Any questions or whatever, just give us that review. Lovey likes to say, give us what you think we deserve. I always think we deserve 5, so I'm just going to say put 5 on it.
And here's the kind of thing. So we also get emails. And so what I'd like Snooks to do real quick is go ahead, and we did it earlier, but to do that mailbag mischief.
Okay. So we get, sometimes we're able to pull from our messages that we get on, or the reviews or whatever. We get email from Tanya. Tanya is from Maine, and Tanya has a question, and that's kind of going to be what our podcast is going to be on today. So Tanya says, Snooks, you said you asked for a divorce at your 4-year anniversary dinner, and in parentheses she's put shame on you, LOL. I know that was kind of, anyway, we'll talk later, Tanya. So her question was, how were you able to move from asking for a divorce to staying in a marriage for over 23 years? It was hard work.
It was hard work. It was, well, I'm sorry, it wasn't even for me, right? That question was meant for you.
Well, I mean, it wasn't just for you, because I'm not a divorce is not just one person. You know, I mean,
it was in this case.
It takes more than one person.
She asked me.
I did.
But right now, I know, I hear you. I hear you. It's one of those things where it takes two.
She asked me. Did you hear that? Accusatory. Ooh.
It wasn't accusatory.
No, because it happened. You didn't accuse me. It was absolutely correct. So, well, what happened with us too is when I told Lovey that I wanted a divorce, we were, like we always say, we were at dinner, and I think he was a little shocked. I won't say I think, I know he was. He was shocked and surprised that I was at that point. And one reason that I was at that, he didn't really think I was at that point to really know, it's because we didn't really communicate so much about my feelings. We talked about some of the things that were going on, and I just don't think he thought that I was as far gone as I was. And
I was oblivious, completely oblivious.
Which is funny to me because, like I said, we did discuss it. We had talked about it. It came up, but we were early in our marriage. We didn't have effective communication, obviously, because if he didn't realize where I was, then we weren't doing a good job communicating with one another.
I figured that, hey, you know what? Look, I'm putting food on the table. Actually, no, I wasn't.
Thank you.
Wait,
I'm about to say
she was making twice as much as me, but she was putting food on the table and I was supplying the water.
I'm about to say.
I was like, look here, baby. I love you so much. I got water on tap. Check that out. Look at it. Turn that knob. Turn that knob.
It wasn't on tap, babe. You did bring home bottled water. Okay. So.
Sure, I did get that bottled water. I sure did. But I figured as
that.
long as I was bringing in that bottled water and the sex was good, we was okay. But apparently there's
not.
more to marriage than bottled water and sex.
There you go.
Though if it's good sex, you do need that bottled water.
Oh,
I'm just
yeah,
saying.
and towel and
Right.
Anyway, so when we have made the decision that okay, this is what we're gonna do, I'm just done. I didn't want to even consider any other options. I actually at that point I was speaking in emotion and I was angry and I was hurt too. And so I'm lashing out and I'm trying to be hurtful, not on purpose. I realize now that that's what I was doing. So when we decided after I got laid off and Lovey said, okay, because Lovey was moving out the day after I got laid off. He actually had an apartment. He put his deposit down. When I called and told him that I got laid off, he was like, nope, I'm going to stay, make sure my family's taken care of. Once you find a job, if you get on your feet, you still want to get a divorce, then we'll go from there. So between him saying that and us going to counseling, I went through, oh gosh, there was so much stuff that was happening with me as far as I know that deep in my heart of hearts, I was wrong because I would pray, Lord, whatever your will is, that's what I want to do. And his will was not for us to break up, to get a divorce. But I was like, that's not the will I'm talking about, Lord. You know, like you can shuffle the bag and I'm going to draw something else out. But I had to take a step back and really, when I say I prayed, I mean I prayed, I cried, I'm prostrate on the ground. And I mean, it was just, I really had to let the Lord just take over. And I'm so glad that I had good people that were around me. You know, Lovey and I, we talk about Iron Tribe. And my mother is, and my grandmother, you talk about some prayer warriors. My big sister, Tammy, she was like, okay, sis, let's get in it. You know, let's get into it. So I did a lot of praying and I got a job. Like I said, I never looked for a job so hard and so fast in my life. I promise you, because my mind was
this Negro, he gonna get out our house.
He gotta go. But it was I think once I calmed down and I partially got out of the emotional part of it. And I started really thinking about what it was that I wanted, what it was that made me unhappy. Is it fixable? Can we fix it? Can we move past it? I realized that, okay, I acted in haste and we decided to go to counseling. And that's what we started doing. And I'm going to be honest with you, I was not a willing participant in the initial counseling. I think I sat there, and I think I've said this before, I sat there and I'm pretty much tapping my fingers on my other hand and I'm kind of looking at my watch, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful of the counselor's time, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm not trying to hear what you're trying to say, man. You don't even know what I'm going through. That's kind of how I felt. And so it was, I had to open up my heart. And there's a scripture that talks about not hardening our hearts, and I can't call it off the top of my head, but there's a scripture about not hardening our hearts. And okay, if I'm being honest, I was trying my best to just stay angry. You know, I don't know if you ever been like that before. You just try hard. I'm gonna be hard and I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna try and I'm gonna stay this way. But eventually, I stopped being angry or as angry. And so I started being honest with myself. And I started just really thinking about what it was, and if it, like I said, if it's, is it fixable? And we deemed that it was fixable. The marriage was worth it, because this was something that I prayed for. I prayed about this. I prayed about this man, and I believe that the Lord sent him to me. We were to be together, especially the way that we met and the way all the chips fell for us to even meet in the first place. So I was just able to change my heart and change my mind and start really working on myself. It wasn't just pointing fingers at Lovey and saying, this is what you did wrong, and this is what you made me mad about, and this is how blah, blah, blah. I had to say, okay, how did we get to this point? How do we move past it? I couldn't just blame Lovey for everything. I really had to take a look at myself too and ask, what part did I play in the demise of, the blissful, the non-blissful years, I should say. So once I started really being honest with myself and opening up, that's when the changes started coming, I think.
And yeah, I'm still here, folks.
Wow. Wow.
No, so I think that also, when you say that you were going through it and you started to open up, I think there was also some self-realization on my part. It wasn't just you saying, okay, what did I contribute to this? How much of this is me? I also had to take responsibility for what I wasn't doing. And what was coming to light was that I wasn't standing up being a man. Now, I was grown and I could do man things, but I wasn't being a man in the respect of the relationship, meaning standing up for my wife, meaning acting as that barrier, that protection wall, if you will, for her and my family. And it's nothing like super serious, but it was one of those things where I'm not talking about
serious enough.
Well, I'm talking. It's not like somebody had a gun and they were trying to shoot the family.
No,
but what
it wasn't anything like that.
No, nothing like that. Aside from me getting stabbed, but that's a whole other story.
But then again, it always comes back to that. If you think about it, everything always comes back to that.
It does. And, it's funny. We're talking about divorce right now and what we went through, and that was the zip code.
Divorce? No.
No, but it was divorce that we were. It was on our doorstep, and like we joke about it, but divorce was not just. Look, we say that divorce was knocking on our door. It knocked on our door. The door was wide open. The challenge was
the U-Haul was there.
The U-Haul was there. Had a deposit. Had an apartment. The whole 9 yards. Mm-hmm. But then we tried to walk through the door at the same time and got stuck.
We couldn't even do that right.
Right? I was like, no. There's a good reason why I had you gain them extra pounds, because we don't want y'all getting through that door. But it was one of those things that we had to go through at the time. So we were in a specific zip code. Where we lived in that moment was someplace that we needed to move from. But before I move on from this and talk about, now that's going to be the topic of this podcast, is what's your zip code for your relationship? But before I go there, I do want to point out that I just recently was asked to participate in another podcast. I have some friends that run a podcast called The Male's Perspective. Phenomenal. I mentioned it a while back. It's Ward Taylor is a friend of mine, and some other folks, two of his boys, two of his best friends. And they're going to be running a series, and it's about divorce. The first one hit earlier today on Tuesday, but he asked me if I would actually come on to talk about my experience with divorce, and we'll see how that goes. So it should be airing next Tuesday. So if you get an opportunity, please put the male perspective in.
Male or males?
I think it's the male's perspective. I have it in my queue. I listen to it. Like last week's was called, Does Size Matter? And that episode was fire. Use your imagination however you want, but you got to listen to that episode. All you women, fellas, all of you need to listen to that episode. It was anointed. It was an anointed episode. It was that good to where I'm coming on my show talking about what they talked about last week. Okay. It was bomb. It was absolute bomb. And so I just feel blessed and honored that Words would ask me if I would participate. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be this upcoming next Tuesday. Every Tuesday, the Male Perspective comes out. If not, then it'll be the following Tuesday. Mm-hmm. Keep an eye on our social media so you can see when it comes out, because I'll definitely alert you to it. Now, when we're talking about what zip code do you live in, where's your zip code? If you think about your relationship, where you are right now, it's just like your house. It's where you live. It's where you are as a husband. It's where you are as a wife, as a significant other, as a soulmate, whatever you want to call it. where you are right now is your zip code. But the challenge is, more times than not, we want to move from this particular zip code to a better zip code. Amen. So that's what I'm talking about. So when you're going, go ahead. You're going to say
I was
something.
going to say, well, I mean, it depends on the reasons behind the move.
Well, the reasons are there, but the fact is that, like for us, when we were where we were at, we needed to move from the zip code that we were in.
Right, but I mean, you have, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
So no, I'm just saying that what happens is, but how do you do that? You got to think about all the things that come into play when you're changing zip codes. What's the first thing you do when you're going to move?
Like you find the property.
Well, you find the property.
You mean, so after you do all that?
Well, if you can say that, you want to find the property, right? You want to find the location. What do they say? The first 3 rules of buying a home is location, location, location. Those are the first thing. So you have to ask yourself, where do I want to live in this relationship? Meaning, what zip code should we occupy? And it's all about location, location, location. You got to know where you're going. You got to have a vision for your relationship. So once you have that vision for your relationship and you know where you want to go, you know the location that you want you and your loved one to reside. When you make that decision and you say, okay, and you commit, like, okay, we're going to move. We're going to get over to that spot. You got to pack. You got to get your house ready. The zip code you're in, the residence, the place you live right now, you have to prepare all of that to make the move. And I'm just going to ask you, we've had a couple of moves. So when we move, how much fun was that? Packing up everything.
It was not fun. Well, I won't say that. It was fun when we moved to this house. It was more fun.
Okay.
Actually,
she's different. I can't stand packing.
No. Well, okay, so I'll say this because when we moved, I got new stuff. So
Okay, that's a good point. Okay, so let's go there. So when you're packing up and you're going to a new location, right? Again, we're talking about changing zip codes. When you're moving your house, you got to get boxes and you start to evaluate what's important, what's essential. What do I want to take with me from this zip code to the next zip code? So there's a process though, right? So that means that you got to sit there, look at things, evaluate it, and some things make the cut, some things don't make the cut. There's some things that have this value, this you romanticize, you start remembering, you start thinking back, and like, nostalgia. Oh, there you go. It's very nostalgic. Do I keep this? But then you have to make a decision. Nah, you know what? This, where I'm going, it's I can't use this anymore.
Obsolete.
So I gotta throw it to the side. So it's obsolete, and you toss it. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't pull on your heartstrings. I'm not saying that it didn't hold a place or have value at one point, but now that value is diminished. So you decide, okay, I need to leave that. But then the other thing you discover is that, okay, I got all this stuff. All of a sudden, things start coming out of the woodworks. Everybody I know, including us, we look around like, I did not realize I had this much stuff packed in this little old house. And same thing with your relationship.
I was getting ready to say that. There's so when and this kind of ties back into the whole dinner thing. When I'm sitting there, and when I finally said I want a divorce, I can't do this anymore. It was like so much packing had gone on, and I couldn't close the box anymore. So if I can't close the box anymore, what are you gonna do? I got to get rid of some stuff, right?
And that was the stuff she was trying to get rid of.
Lovey, poor Lovey. But I had to, when I started going through counseling, and when we started going through counseling and we started evaluating what our relationship, I was like, oh, I didn't know I was still angry about this. Oh, I didn't realize that I was still upset over that. I mean, there's so much stuff that had been buried down deep that I had stuck in the box a long time ago. So now we're taking stuff out, and I'm like, ooh, I still have this.
Right?
I better get rid of it. Or
for real though. I mean, there's those things like where you sit and you start thinking about, oh, okay, well, I got this. I got these pictures. Why I got these vacation pictures of me and my ex from
4 exes ago. Or
right.
Mm-hmm.
All that. And you start realizing, okay, so just like that vase that you had handed down from your great aunt Sally, that you didn't really like the vase, but you took it because you didn't want to hurt her feelings. But for whatever reason, 15 years later, you still have it. So it's like, okay, will this better serve somebody else, or do I need to get rid of it? So you set that aside, and then you realize that some of these things that I've been packing along for a while need to go. And that's some of the attachments we have to old feelings, attachments we have to some things, where you're resentful. There's some things you just don't let go of. And we need to let go of some things. That argument that took place 12 years ago, but you keep it in your hip pocket just in case I want to reference that. No. See, that's the time. That's because just like when you...
That's right.
And you hold on to that thing needs to be unpacked and thrown away.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're changing zip codes, there's that evaluation piece.
I think that, too, like you were saying, a lot of the stuff that we hold on to, that's... Be it good or bad, a lot of it is just our comfort. It's our comfort zone. As miserable as I was and as hurt as I was very comfortable, and I won't say I liked being there, but I was comfortable in that space because it allowed me to lash out or to be, it validated my feelings, or it validated why I felt the way that, what happened with us is we both had to learn to make peace with our past. Mm-hmm. And by making peace with the past, I was able to let it go. Just like with the vase. You make peace with, okay, well, she gave it to me. I liked it, or I didn't like it. I kept it for a while. I'm at peace with letting it go. Even though, she gave it to me. I don't need it anymore. That's part of something that I'm not going to bring here to my new spot. And it's something that I'm not going to miss either. So. Right?
So you come to terms with it. So then you get past that, right? So you get past that packing stage. It's like, okay, we've got everything we want. But then you also recognize that we got rid of a lot of stuff. The mattress was old. The couch was worn. We got to get some new stuff. Mm-hmm. So when you move into that, as you're moving into that new location, you don't just show up there with no furniture. You start doing some window shopping. You start going out planning for that new location. You had the vision to begin with where you wanted to go. Remember, location. You knew where you were going. So you also went out to the furniture store and you're like, okay, this is what we're going to get. We're going to have it delivered on this date because our move-in date is here, but we're going to have this. So you bring new, and that's new attitudes. That's new way of doing things, new perspectives.
New communication.
That's like our workshop. You can't expect to get better in the way that you communicate when you hold on to all the old tools. Listen, if right now we're on iPhone 11, there's like an 11 Pro, right? That's like the highest of
not me.
That's the highest of the iPhones right now. Mm. But imagine actually trying to communicate with your old Nokia Slide, or one of those bag phones that my mom used to have. So it's a form of communication, but you can't do it. You can't do all the things you need to do right now with what you used to have. So the same thing, when you change the zip codes and you're looking for that new furniture, some of that new furniture has to be attitude, mindset, willingness, all the things. Look, I'm gonna keep it real. It's all those things we talk about being crazy. Crazy stands for compassionate, real, accountable, zealous, and yielding. Each one of those is something that you're going to need to unpack, or at least get something new, a new way of being compassionate, a better way of being compassionate, keeping it real but being kind. Being accountable without pointing the finger and accusatory. Being zealous, having that joy in serving each other, not just the joy of receiving whatever is being given to you, but also taking pride in being able to yield when you need to, given the right of way in certain situations. So those are things that you're going to need to do, and we do go into that a little bit in our webinar that's coming up on this Saturday. But when you get to the new spot, those are things that you have the joy of doing. Everybody loves new stuff. You love it. It's like, my coffee has never tasted this good because you got a brand new machine. Look, the coffee's the same.
They've been buying the same brand forever.
But the same brand, the whole 9 yards, that's different, but it's like it feels better. It tastes better, smells better. And some of that is just a mindset, right? It's in that subconscious, you think it's better. Same thing when moving to that new location when it comes to your relationship. Now, before you get there, though, you got everything packed up. What you need to do is you need to call some friends. Because more times than not, you don't just pack everything up yourself. You call your closest homies. You call your aces, the people that got your back no matter what. Because let's be honest, your family don't show up half the time. They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to be there. I'll be there to help you out. I'll be there at 7 a.m. You're like, all right, cool. 9:30, 10 o'clock, 12. Oh, see what happened was, yeah, man, I overslept, but you good though, right? You good. You had some other folks. I wasn't the only one. So the people that show up on time, you're supposed to have 7 or 8 people that are going to help you, but usually only like 3 or 4 show up, and y'all do all the work to make that move. Look, same thing in your relationship. When you're trying to change zip codes, we talk about the iron tribe. Those people that show up to help you move are those same people that you trust on moving day to help you pack up your stuff and with all your valuables, they put them neatly in the truck and they help you do that. And they're willing to give up their time to help you. Those are the same people that when you're changing zip codes in your relationship, that you can rely on, that you confide in. It's not your single friend. We always come back to that. I'm not saying single folks don't give good advice, but single folks give single advice. Single folks don't have usually the temperament to deal with the things that we deal with in a marriage or a committed relationship.
Yeah, because it's always from the perspective of them. When you're single, a lot of times you're only thinking about how what you're doing is going to affect you. When you're in a relationship with a spouse, I can't just think about what I want to eat for dinner. I have to think about what does Lovey want too. So I'll say, hey babe, what do you want for dinner? And he'll tell me what he wants. If I don't want that, I'm like, okay, so then we'll compromise or we'll talk about what we're gonna, if my single friend doesn't have to, she's be like, oh, I just went and got me some McDonald's or whatever it is. And like Lovey said, it's not that single friends, they can't. But when you're single, you think single. You don't think married. So married means one. It means more than one. So my conversation is now going to be about more than one person. It's going to be about how the two of us, just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
Now, Lovey, we've already discussed you not singing on the podcast.
I'm tired of you shaming me.
You can't even say it right.
But no, right? So now you got your friends, right? You got your closest allies that are going to help you move. The people that you confide in, your aces, the confidants. And then you get to the spot and you unpack. But when you're unpacking, now now you're at that spot where you're like, okay, now we're here. Where am I going to put all the stuff that we have? And so there's great care that goes into putting everything in the right place. Mm-hmm. But if you remember this, though, there's quite a few of us, the great majority of us, I would venture to say, you live out of boxes for a while because you haven't quite gotten to the point where I know exactly where I want to put this. I know it's important. I just don't know where to put it or how. The same thing with our relationship. When you're moving to that new zip code, when you're trying to have a better mindset, better communication, more love, more caring, there's some things that you don't quite unpack. It might be the sex. It might be the intimate conversations about the next step because it's got to be done in steps, in baby steps. When we're counseling and talking to some of our clients, because we do couple to couple coaching as well, that's available on our website, which of course is marriedintocrazy.com. On the coaching tab. I'm being real. No, but some of the things that we talk about is that you can't do everything at once. It is a process. Mm-hmm. And same thing with moving, whether it's moving boxes for real, but when you're moving from zip code and relationship to another zip code that's going to be better, sometimes there's a process in the unpacking of that as well. And
like Lovey was saying, you may not know where everything goes when you first move in, just like when you're changing your zip code or your behavior, your communication style in a relationship, it's going to seem foreign to you, like, oh, I don't know, you have to try. You have to, because it's not going to happen just overnight. You're just going to know where everything, it's just going to be, and it's always going to be there, Does that make sense?
It did. Okay. Well, because it's like, it can be like a jack in a box, where it's like,
yeah, it just pop, there it goes.
Then it pops and everything goes everywhere.
Because you're gonna have times when you're changing, even like for us, after we went through our counseling, I was going to counseling, and when we started making our way back to each other, and I love to say making our way back to each other because it took time. We had to take our time. We had to take it slow, but we were still committed to it. And here we are. It's almost like we started like redating and re-getting to know one another on a different level. We would go to lunch, and initially the first couple of lunches, it's like we were strangers, and lunch was kind of quiet, and we did very, very surface talk, and there was no deep conversations because, I don't want to poke the bear, I don't want him to get upset, or he didn't want me to get upset, and we don't want to bring up any bad memories as to why we were where we are. But we had to learn to, okay, we have to be able to talk. And so that's what we started doing. We just started very small. Just
It's funny
little
because
steps.
we were, as we were going through that was us trying to determine the location. There was some stuff that we had packed up, and we knew that we wanted to change zip codes. We just weren't convinced just yet that we wanted to change zip codes with each other and get there. And it was that feeling out and then finding out, are we going in the same, do we want to live in the same neighborhood? Do we want to be neighbors? Do we want to be roommates? So there's a lot that we had to go through. That's why the conversations in the very beginning were kind of slow and very, like you said, it was just scratching the surface. But then as we gained trust, as we got a little bit more depth, and each moment gained a little, and sometimes that depth may have been just as thin as a piece of paper.
A piece of tissue.
But it was still depth. And you can't have the expectation that you want that person to, go as deep as you. You just have to be happy that there's movement.
Yes, exactly.
One thing that we always say, said it a long time ago in the very beginning, is that if you want to be a movement, you have to stay in motion. And the thing about marriage is that if you want your marriage to be a movement, a true movement, then you have to be in constant motion. That motion is changing. That means never resting where you're at. Now you do rest and metaphorically, and being able to sit down and be able to be thankful, but never think that just because things are good right now, that you don't have to put in more work. So there's always going to be more motion.
And it's hard. It's really, really hard. I'm not going to say it's an easy thing, because there are times when you feel like, I really want to change, or I really want to change how I feel, but I just feel stuck. I just can't. Like you just can't move forward. And the only thing is, like Lovey said, you just got to keep the motion. You got to keep showing up. You got to keep, it's like that treadmill upstairs. The first time you get on and it's like, oh my God, I could only do 2 minutes or whatever it is. Or you can't do an incline. But the more you do it, the more you show up, you make your mind up, this is what I'm going to do. Subconsciously, a lot of times, I know from myself, I blamed, I blame Lovey for a lot of the feelings that I had. Subconsciously, I was still angry at him. And that's what happens too, So we have our boxes, we're moving to the new zip code. We've agreed on what we're going to take, but each partner has a secret box that the other one doesn't know about. And so mine was, okay, I'm going to pack this up here and bring it with me. Lovey had his or whatever. And so soon as something pops up that's out of the ordinary, I'm going to my box and I'm open up. There it goes again. I'm taking out whatever I shouldn't have been taking out. And,
come on.
So.
That's so true. And so that's part of the thing too, right? When you're packing up, before you even leave the house or before you leave that zip code, you do come to an agreement. You try to on things.
Or what you're going to take.
What you're going to take with you. I lost some of my favorite shirts because she would not allow them in the new house. She's like, nope, out with the old.
Out with the old.
But see, all these things that we're talking about, changing the zip code, I think it's crucial that you really take inventory of where you're at right now. You do that with a DISC assessment, and knowing where you are as a person, how you're doing certain things, why you're doing certain things, and your preferences. And then you're able to really, truly gauge where you want to go. And again, I know I keep coming back to it, but it's available. Look, when it's free,
right,
we're trying to give it away to you because that was a commitment we made when the pandemic started, that we wanted to give something back to the married community. So please, if you haven't already, go ahead and register at marriedintocrazy.com. It's right there on the front page. But be prepared in your relationship to change zip codes. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're fine. And what I was going to say too is, a lot of times I think that some couple that with couples, people think, oh, I'm good. Oh, we don't have that problem. We don't have this problem. We don't, and we stay stagnant. and there's no real growth. And over time, that stagnation will cause a division. And then before you know it, you're like, dang, you way over here, I'm way over there. Our views are different. We almost don't even know each other anymore. So
Oh, come on, say that.
doing the communication workshop or taking the assessment, what Lovey and I do, we check in with one another. Are you good? And I know exactly what he's talking about. Babe, you good? I'll ask him, are you good? And he's not talking about at that moment right there. He's talking about, are we good? Or is there anything I need to talk about? Is there anything you want from me? And the same thing, I do the same thing with him. So let's not just let our good relationships be the death of what could be a phenomenal relationship.
Good is the.
What is
I heard
good
this.
is the
Good is the enemy of great.
Yeah.
And it's funny you say that. So earlier today, and it's funny when we share this. So earlier today, I had an old client actually reach out to me. We had done a consultation a while ago and stayed in touch, and he reached out today. He's a business person and owns a business and has employees, the whole nine yards. And he's looking at developing his team and growing. And he asked me if I would actually administer the disc and help him in this process so he can put his team together. And I feel blessed to be able to say that, no, I told him that I'm not the person for you anymore. Whereas I was in that space before. So I'm fully committed to relationships. I'm fully committed to couples. I'm fully committed to this calling that we have to continue to help other people like us that are going through and went through it. And he's like, okay, well, cool. My bad. He's like, we talked. I gave him a referral to another coach that I truly believe in. And what's funny is like, okay, well, when things go bad in my marriage, I know who to call. And I was like, whoa, hold on.
Don't go bad, homie.
Don't let it go bad. Exactly. I was like, don't let it go bad, man. I said, here's the thing. I said, when you take your car in, we've talked about this. We have a podcast on this where you take your car in for scheduled maintenance, right? So that way it never goes bad. Right. So it's always running smoothly. And I told him, don't wait till your marriage is, you start to hear that knocking in the engine.
That's right.
So you got to get that daily maintenance. So come see us long before then.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're talking about. Just, I don't want to belabor the point, but you need to ask yourself, look in the mirror or talk to each other and ask, do we need to change our zip code? And be honest about it.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And it's okay if one person says, yeah, I'm good. I'm good right where I'm at. The other person is like, no, we need to change the zip code. And it's not that the person wants to change the zip code without you. It just means that, it's time for some growth. If one needs to grow, both need to grow.
And when he said we need to change, he didn't say I need to change the zip code. We.
Right.
So let's get on the same page. Because maybe that person, so yeah, we're good. Well, your spouse may not want to be good. Your spouse may want to be phenomenal. They want to be great. And so let's make it happen.
Amen. And that was exactly the root of our problem. I thought we were good. She didn't. Mm-mm. And so she needed a zip code change. And while I would have been perfectly happy, go lucky to live right there in that zip code, I had to man up and be like, okay, it's time to move. Snooks wants to move. We got to go. We got to go. And that's exactly what we did. Now, it wasn't easy, and we talked about that. We'll get into it more down the road. But ask yourself, is it time to change your zip code? But I will tell you what time it is. It's time to grab two for the road. So it's going to be the I Can for couples.
Forever.
I know. It feels that way. So what we do is we reach into the I Can for couples, and there's 40 different affirmations that are in the can. And you pick it, you can use it for that day, or you can use it for that week. We choose to use it for that week, and I pull one for the fellas or one spouse, and she pulls for the other. Mm-hmm. So what does yours say, Snooks?
I can put my significant other's needs first.
Oh, this is crazy, because mine says, I can find ways to serve my partner.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about.
And that's a great illustration of sometimes you're supposed to do the exact same thing, but it sounds a little bit different.
There you go.
Sounds just a little bit different. I'm a high D on the disc. She's a high S and C, and so we want the same things a lot of times.
D and I.
You're not an I.
You, I said
that's
you.
That's a D and I, and you're a high.
No, I think you said you're a high D.
See, here we go.
You said I'm a high D.
Nothing like closing out with an argument.
Really? Why does it have to be an argument?
Anyway, hey, look. we're very thankful for each and every one of you. We hope to see some of you on, a lot of you,
We hope to see all of you.
all thousands and thousands of you, on the webinar this weekend. Again, go to marriedintocrazy.com, and right there on the front page, go ahead and select that button that says, I want to join the webinar, or whatever it says. It's an orange button right there. But what we're about to do now is do our part for social justice. We're going to observe 8 minutes and 46 seconds of silence. If you're driving right now, please take a moment and just embrace the silence and think about, is there anything more that I can do for my community so I can make sure that my brothers and my sisters, regardless of race, are receiving the equal amount of love that we are all due as a human race. So 8 minutes, 46 seconds. Until the next time, be blessed.
Bye-bye.